we're back and we're going to be using this doll, which is an Island Bru doll, to do a little customization today. And this is a real ball jointed doll. There's the eyeballs that came inside, but it is fully strung, as you can see. So you can open up the back of the head, change the eyes, all kinds of things. I did put on Mr. Super Clear 3 coats before I started customizing this doll, just to protect the resin of the body and the face in case you wanted to change it at some point. You can just take all that off. So let's get some light on the subject. We're going to be using chalk pastels mostly, but also some watercolor pencils. So I'm starting off by blushing the cheeks and a little bit on the forehead. I like to do a blush where I think the sun will hit, and that's the areas that sort of stick out. So the forehead, the cheeks, the bridge of the nose, the chin, a little bit around the tops of the ears. And, as always I say, use a soft brush for this. Otherwise, if you use a hard brush, the bristles will cause streaks. Here I'm putting on some pastel down for the eyebrows, and I'm having them slope up on the forehead, so down near the ears, up near the forehead for that kind of quizzical, pouty look, because her lips are very, very pouty. Putting a little bit of brown around the eyes as shading. All of these things just add some dimension to the face and make it look a little bit more realistic. But again, use a very soft brush and use very light color. You can always go back and add color, but if you put too much, you're going to have to sand it off and start over. So that's never fun. I always put a little bit of light blue, very, very light blue, like powder blue, over the eyes for shading. And this doll had a little ridge over the eyes, sort of underneath where the eyebrow is, where is sort of like, I guess, a crease from the frown. And I always put a little bit of blue on the insides of the eyes near the bridge of the nose, because we tend to have that. And putting a little light brown around the nostrils and down the center of the philtrum, and a little watercolor pencil brown in the nostrils to give them some definition. If you make a mistake, you have this Mr. Super Clear on. You can use a Q-tip with some water on it to take it off. Usually it comes off pretty easy at this point. I'm using watercolor pencil in the crease of the lips to define that, and that was red, and then a little bit of a darker brown in the corners just to give some definition. A little bit more in the nostrils. Yeah. And then a little bit of light brown under the lip, at the top of the chin, and in the creases of the ear. Anywhere that there is a depth, use a darker color like brown. And you can always, use a clean brush to go in and make that a little bit lighter. But my rule is go very light and then add to it, because otherwise you make a lot of mistakes. I use a Q-tip sometimes, but sometimes I'll just use a wooden toothpick. If I need to take off a little small area, I'll just dab it in some water and take off that amount. That's an easy way to do that. I'm using pastels to color the lip because it makes a nice soft appearance. And just using a red. That's basically all you see is the bottom lip sticking out because she's pouting. That's a very cute little girl. And just use that darker red to define the crease. Now I'm using very sharp pointed watercolor pencils to make some strokes across the pastel that I put down so that it'll look like the hairs in the eyebrows. And I usually use 2 colors, a darker color and a lighter color. And depending on what color wig I'm going to use will determine how dark I make the eyebrows. And she's going to have for sort of auburn wig, so I'm not making them too dark. Shading around the bottoms of the ears a little bit with some brown, just to add a little bit more shadow. And that crease under the eye, I'm putting a little bit of brown under that to accentuate it, because it does look like it's sort of a muscle crease or a frown. which I think is really cute with this particular doll. I love the little pouty look. So cute. So just some finishing touches here. I am going to blush the body also because I did put some Mr. Super Clear on that. So I usually blush the chest, the navel, the knees, the elbows, the tops of the hands, the tops of the feet, and the shoulders. Just some very light blush to give it some color so it's not just, you know, the naked body. I think that looks kind of cute. I also usually blush the buttocks and the crease as well. Now we're going to be moving on to the most dreaded portion of the video, in my opinion, and that is trying to put eyelashes on. This is my nemesis. I hate doing it, but I have to admit sometimes it really makes them look so cute. So for this doll, I did want to add eyelashes, and I'm just using some false eyelashes that I bought from Miss A Cosmetics online because you can get a whole lot for $1, and they're actually pretty good quality. They also have other cosmetics too. So the way I do this is I put some just Elmer's glue, white glue, in one area of the underneath of the eye opening and then also on the top of the lash portion. I do this in 2 steps because I can't glue it all at one time. I'm just not that talented. So I'll glue just that first part and then let that dry. And once it's dry, then it's a whole lot easier to do the outer edge. So I do speed this up because I spent way too long trying to get this eyelash in. I don't know why this is so hard for me. The second one went in a lot easier, but the reason it's more difficult for me, I guess, is because I have long fingernails for one thing. But the other part is I want to make sure it's not sticking out too far in the back, because if it sticks too far in the back, when you try to put the eye in, it keeps the eye from pressing up against the back. So it's not just, you know, sticking it in there. You got to make sure you get it right at the edge. And it just was being very ornery, and I had to go back, re-glue it a couple times and wipe the glue off. And finally, I just get it to one point, and, you know, you just gonna have to let it go. And then the other one went in a whole lot easier. But once it dries, this upper part dries, then it's a whole lot easier to go back in then and just put a little bit of glue on the edge on the outside, and that part's much easier. So if you kind of bend these a little bit too, it helps, so they're not just completely straight. They tend to go in a little bit easier following the curve of the eye. But whatever, in any event, my technique, it just is always hard. But these are in now, and then you just really want to let them dry for a good long while and before you mess with them again. But I did go back in and glue down the corners and let that dry so that they were very, very, very secure. And now we're ready to move on to putting the eyeballs in. And these dolls usually do come with eyeballs, but you can buy different ones if you don't like them. Before I do that, though, I'm going to trim the eyelashes because these were just a little too long. I always buy them long because I never know what I'm going to need, and then you can always trim them. And I do make it shorter near the nose area and longer near the ear side. And I just trim them first, and then I go back in and make these vertical cuts to fan them out a little bit, make them not so even, so they look more natural. And that's just about all there is to that. That's not hard. That part is easy, thank goodness. Nothing like just the putting them in part. I hate that part. Anyway, so we're just trimming those up, making them look a little bit more natural by making them less even across the edge. Just do these vertical cuts, and that gives it a little bit more of a fan-like look. So these look pretty appropriate for the size of the doll. I think that's going to look really cute once we get her eyeballs in. So now that this part's done, we can open up the back of the head and go in and put our eyeballs in. And we're going to be using the clay that came with it. And you just want to make a donut with that, like rub it between your fingers, make a long piece, then put a donut and just put that around the edge of the eyeball and press it against the back of the head. And then you can go back in and position the eye whichever way you want it. Lots of different expressions you can get. Some people like a little doe-eyed look where you have them slightly cross-eyed with these childlike dolls. This one I'm going to kind of have a little bit straight on, maybe off to the side a little bit, but you can see how it looks in the back. And if you have long fingernails like I do, you can use a silicone tool or whatever you have that can press it in there and not get stuck to it. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other eye. Make your donut and then just press it in. And this one's a little easier because you've already got the other eye in and you can just match up how you want that to look. But you can see where you needed to put the Mr. Super Clear on the face because you're still going to be handling it. Now, some people wear gloves, white cotton gloves to do this, and I probably should, but I don't. But I always do make sure my hands are really clean so you can transfer dirt. All right, so we've got the eyes in, and we're entering the finishing touches here. We're going to be adding her little outfit. So I've chosen for this doll a little sailor outfit with some jean shorts and some cute chunky tennis shoes for her. These dolls are very hard to find clothes for, I will say. These clothes are all for Blythe dolls, but not all Blythe clothes will fit these dolls. You have to find clothes that are chunky, and even the shirt, I actually cut off the bottom and hemmed it to make it a little bit shorter because it was too long for this girl's little chunky body. She's about 7.5 inches tall. So Blythes are about 11 to 12 inches, and that makes them, body proportions are a little different. So we're going to put on some socks, and I always use tweezers here because the socks always get caught in the joints of the crease, or the crease of the joints. And then these little chunky tennis shoes that are so adorable. And their feet are pretty big. So again, these are actually Blythe shoes, but they're really chunky. So if you're going to try to find clothes for them, you just have to really look at the sizes and see if it's something that doesn't have like a really tight waist, or that the shoes are nice and chunky size and not real fitted. The shoes have been one of the harder things to find, but these tennis shoes always fit them pretty good. The lacing is weird. It's just one lace, but it's wound around. So I use little pliers to pull the lacing because I just can't pull it with my fingers. So that's just a tip for you, and try to get them pressed, the shoes pressed down on the foot so that it's flat. They can stand up actually on their own because their feet are so big and the shoes are pretty chunky, so you don't even really need to stand for them, or you could prop them up against something. So finally got this girl's outfit on, and so the last part is we're going to be putting on her wig. Now she's using a 10-inch wig, and now actually this is a 9-inch wig, I believe. 9-inch wig. The way you find out is just to use a tape measure around the circumference of the head, and whatever inches that is, that's the size of the wig. So I found these wigs online, and this is much easier than me trying to make a wig, and they fit really nicely and they look cute. So I elected to do that instead of making a wig for this doll, although I have made wigs for these Bru dolls before. But it's very time consuming. So this was pretty easy, and I like the way it looks. I did end up trimming off some of the ends of the pigtails before I put her up on my Etsy site, but you can get a good idea of how she looks from this, and I will put a link to my Etsy shop in the description if you're interested in this little cutie pie. But let's get ready to end the video here. I had fun making this doll. I think these Island Bru dolls are so cute. Their expressions are adorable. So we'll end with some still shots to show you how she looks in a pose. And then I'll see you guys on the next go around with whatever we decide to do next. But here she is in some still poses, close up, sitting with her teddy bear. See you next time.